Episodes of people who remembered their past lives are always very fascinating to hear, and such instances have been reported from many regions and cultures around the world. In the Western world, one of the most famous past life remembrance episodes is that of Anne Frank. Anne Frank was one of the most famous Holocaust victims. Along with her family members, she stayed in the attic of their shop, hiding from the Nazis from the year 1942 to 44. Finally, the family was found out and taken to the gas chambers of the concentration camps, where Anne Frank died in the year 1945. However, she became famous not merely as a Holocaust victim, but because of the book she wrote of the 2 years that she had resided in the attic of the house. That was such a tremendous portrayal of a little child as she experienced the prejudice amongst humankind and the sentiment of hatred. This diary of Anne Frank subsequently became famous as one of the most popular books around the world and has been translated into 70 languages. Interestingly, Anne Frank died in the year 1945, and less than 10 years later, in 1954, a little girl called Barbro Karlen was born in Sweden. When she was just 3 years old, she told her parents that she was not Barbro Karlen but Anne Frank. The parents had never heard who Anne Frank was. And she would have hallucinations of uniformed soldiers running up the stairs to the attic, which were inexplicable to the parents. Interestingly again, for the 2 years that Anne Frank's family had been holed up in the attic, they had eaten only beans. And Barbro Karlen just hated beans and could not consume them. Her fear of policemen was so much that to overcome it, subsequently, when she grew up, she joined the Swedish mounted police and served there for 10 years. An interesting episode happened when she was 8 years old. By then, the diary of Anne Frank had become famous, and she heard her teacher talking about Anne Frank. That astonished her. She said, how does she know Anne Frank? And then Barbro Karlen came to realize that Anne Frank was a famous personality. When she became 10 years old, her father took the family for a tour of Europe, and they also reached Amsterdam, where Anne Frank's previous home had now been turned into a museum called the Anne Frank House. And her father had also come to know of this personality and wanted the family to visit. So he was thinking of calling a taxi to the hotel. But Barbro Karlen said there will be no need, it's just a few blocks away. And she led the family walking to the house. When she went there, she could easily point out aspects of the house that had been changed, and the guide concurred with what she said. Now, the beautiful part is that Anne Frank, although a little girl, had harbored the ambition of being a world-famous writer, which she did become posthumously. That talent for writing continued in Barbara Carlin, and at the age of 12 she wrote a book that got noticed by literary agents, and it was published and became the most well-sold book in Swedish publishing history till then. Subsequently, through her teen years, she published 9 books. Now, how do you explain Barbara Carlin having this kind of link with Anne Frank, except when we accept the eternality of the soul? Let me read about it to you from my latest book, Spiritual Secrets from Hinduism. On accepting the idea of rebirth, the question arises, why do we all not remember our past lives? The answer is that death is very painful for the soul. Death erases most memories of the life gone by. Furthermore, birth is an even more painful experience, which wipes out remaining recollections of the previous life. The soul, nevertheless, does retain a faint remembrance in infancy. The Nyaya Darshan states, Jatasya harsha shoka bhaya sampratipataha. If you observe a little baby, you will find it occasionally becomes fearful without any obvious reason. Likewise, it becomes happy or begins to cry without a visible cause. The Nyaya Darshan explains that this is because it is a recalling events of past lives and reliving those feelings. As the baby grows older, impressions of this life leave a strong imprint and eventually obscure the fainter impressions of past lives. Nevertheless, this rule does have exceptions. There are accounts of people around the world who have had vivid recollections of their previous life. Their statements about their past birth have been examined by scientists and confirmed as true. The famous example of Shanti Devi, who died as Lugdi Devi in 1925 in Mathura and was reborn in Delhi in 1926, was one such case validated by a high-profile team. When the battle of Mahabharata was over and Duryodhan was finally killed at the end of it, the news, when it reached Gandhari, she just collapsed and fainted. Dhritarashtra too started wailing and asked Sri Krishna, "O Bhagavan, what kind of justice is this?" Dhritarashtra said, "I am the most unfortunate person on this planet ever to have lived. Somebody suffers the grief of one child passing away. In my case, I was born blind and I could never see. I was unable to relish the joy of my 100 children. And then all of them died while I am surviving and bearing the grief. O Sri Krishna, why did this happen to me?" Sri Krishna bestowed upon Dhritarashtra the ability to look into his previous lives. And Dhritarashtra now remembered his first past life and could see that he never did anything that bad as to reap such a consequence. He looked into the life before that and then the life before that until he came to 50 lives earlier, where he had been a powerful but extremely harsh-hearted, cruel, tyrannical king. Once he had gone out hunting and discovered a beautiful swan with excellent, attractive eyes and 100 baby swans around it. Rather than relishing its beauty, in sadistic delight, he had blinded the swan and then killed all its babies. Sri Krishna then revealed to Dhritarashtra that karma once committed bears fruit that people have to reap the consequences of, and this was the result of his own actions, a case of the consequences of past life being born in the present. And this also explains why in the Mahabharata the young Abhimanyu, son of Arjun, died at the age of 16. It is said that the celestial devatas were instructed to send themselves or their family members to take birth on the earth and assist in the mission of annihilating the miscreants and protecting the righteous. For this task, the son of Chandradev, Varchas, was selected. Chandradev, the moon god, however, pushed back. He said he was so attached to his child he would not permit him to be on the earth for more than 16 years. And even for those 16 years, he would be under the care of Gandhivdhari Arjun. So, Varchas was born as Abhimanyu, the child of Arjun and Subhadra. When Abhimanyu was in the womb of Subhadra, Arjun started relating an aspect of military science, the Chakravyuh formation, how to enter it. Subhadra heard it, and through the mother, Abhimanyu in the womb also understood. Arjun later on related how to get out of the Chakravyuh as well, but by divine design Subhadra fell asleep and Abhimanyu missed out on that part. Subsequently, during the Mahabharata, when the Kauravas arranged their army in the Chakravyuh, some of the Pandav soldiers asked Abhimanyu to enter. He said, "I will need support to get out." But by treacherous strategy, the Kauravas allowed Abhimanyu to enter and block the rest of the Pandavas. Singled out there, Abhimanyu was killed callously. Sri Krishna, nevertheless, utilized it for a higher purpose. He needed the Pandavas to be more exerting in their efforts to fight the Kauravas, and they had been lenient until the point of Abhimanyu's defeat. And at that time, when the Kauravas chucked military ethics to the wind, Sri Krishna pointed this episode out to Arjun and the other Pandavas, and he thereby incited them to do a better job at war. So our Puranas are full of such episodes of the soul reincarnating from one lifetime to one lifetime. Let us get into a little bit of philosophy out here. We have the body, the mind, the intellect, Now, the Vedas inform us that all of these are made from material energy and therefore they are non-conscious. Life, consciousness, sentience stems from the soul. It is the quality of the divine Atman. Where does the Atman reside? I had explained in the previous episode, Hridihi eva Atma. The Prashnopanishad explains it resides in the region of the heart. And the Brahma Sutra says Gunat Alokavat. It spreads its consciousness to enliven the entire body. Here, a question is sometimes asked that when the body is dead matter and the soul possesses life, how does the quality of the soul get passed on to the body? Ved Vyas answers this in the Brahma Sutra. He says, Vyatireko Gandhavat. Take a look at the flower. It possesses aroma. But when flowers blossom, their aroma makes the entire garden smell with the perfume. Likewise, consciousness is the quality of the soul, but by its presence, it makes the body conscious as well. Again, somebody may ask that if the soul resides in the heart, how can it make the entire body enlivened? Ved Vyas has put another sutra, Avirodhash Chandanavat. When people apply sandalwood paste, they merely do so to the forehead, but its quality is felt through the body. And the cooling effect of sandalwood, it cools the whole corporeal frame. And likewise, the soul, though residing in the heart, has the ability to spread its consciousness through the body. We have now understood this aspect of the nature of the self. Understanding further into the secrets of Hinduism, in the next episode, we'll ponder over the phenomenon of disembodied beings. Arbhut, Pret, Pishach, Vetal, Chudail, and so on.
Who am I? What is the purpose of life? How can I connect with the divine? Find answers to these profound questions and many more with Swami Mukundananda's latest masterpiece, Spiritual Secrets from Hinduism. Join us on the Radha Krishna Bhakti app for an exclusive 30-day challenge that promises to transform your life one lecture at a time. Dive into the wisdom of Vedic knowledge through beautifully summarized lectures, where every takeaway unveils a path to greater understanding. Engage with interactive activities and test your grasp of spiritual concepts, an essential step towards your spiritual progress. Receive daily inspirational quotes from Swamiji himself and let his words guide you on this journey of self-discovery. Sign up for free and earn participation points with each step you take. Embark on your transformative journey today. Hurry! Register now and be a part of something truly divine. Only on the Radha Krishna Bhakti app, your spiritual companion.